Mike Brown, the former FEMA director.
Joining us here is the former FEMA director.
History, I think, was very unkind to you, my friend. Very unkind.
Mr. Brown, thanks for being with us.
This is Michael Brown Unplugged.
So happy Friday after the 4th of July holiday. I assume everybody got to watch the fireworks and the parade and everything that took place on the National Mall last night. I find it fascinating. I don't understand why people had such strong objections to showing some of the military might of the United States. And, of course, everybody was drawing a comparison between the May Day parades that they would have at the Kremlin as they would go through Red Square, and you would have everybody goose-stepping and everybody looking up at at Putin or whoever might be the dictator of Russia or the Soviet Union at the time. And everybody tried to draw that comparison. And then everybody ignored the fact that after the first Gulf War, we had a parade of military equipment on the National Mall. We had one, I think, back in the 1940s. We had one back in the late 1800s, maybe early 1900s. So it's not like this hasn't happened before. But I think what has changed is this. Campus Reform did a video, one of those man-in-the-street videos where they go talk to somebody. And these individuals, these Yahoo Rugrat students, can we just call them dumb snowflakes? These dumb snowflakes decided to tell the reporter, America really is not the greatest country on earth.
I'm Kevin Phillips with Campus Reform. Today we're in Washington, D.C., talking to college students about whether or not they're proud to be an American. With the 4th of July tomorrow, a new poll shows that fewer people than ever say they think we're the greatest country in the world. What do these students think? Let's find out. Are you proud to be an American this year?
Nah, not at all.
Do you find yourself proud to be an American this year?
No.
There are so many issues right now that I just can't say yes that I'm proud to be an American, but that's not to say that I'm not fortunate.
I've been prouder, I think, in the past.
I think we do as a country have a lot to be proud of, but at the moment there are a lot more things we have to be ashamed of. I don't know how to say.
Ashamed of. I can live with somebody telling me that, excuse me, that they're concerned about the issues facing the country. I can live with somebody telling me that they're not happy with Donald Trump, that they don't like the outcome of the 2016 election. I can deal with people telling me almost anything. But when people tell me that they're literally not proud of the country, there's something wrong. I'm proud of this country, warts and all. It doesn't make any difference to me what horrendous mistakes we've made, what stupid things we've done, what gaffes we've made, how long it took us to abolish slavery, even though we were on a path to abolish slavery from the day that this country was founded. July 2nd, 1776. Declaration signed on July 4th, 1776. I don't have a problem with people saying, I love my country, but I'm concerned. I love my country, but I have these problems. I love my country, but whatever, XYZ. But to just tell me you're just not proud of the country, I just find that kind of, dumb snowflakes. I want to take them to a true S-hole country. I want to take, you can't see the video, but these are obviously middle class, upper middle class students going, I don't even know I don't even know what the college campus is, and I don't think it makes any difference. I think you could find this on almost any college campus, with maybe the exception of Hillsdale College. I think any other college campus in the entire country, you'd probably have the same thing. Why can't we just accept that this country has done more good for more people in the history of mankind than any other country in the history of the world?
I'm not proud, but I don't like what we're experiencing now.
Are you proud to be an American this year?
Nah, not as proud as I've been in the past, but I feel lucky.
Or what would you say are the reasons that you're...
At least she admits she feels lucky. I don't know whether she's traveled. I don't know whether it's just because she studied history. I don't know whether it's just because she understands what's going on in China and Cuba and Venezuela and going on in Russia, going on in all the other S-hole countries in the world. I don't know, but at least she admits that she's lucky.
On that way.
Definitely our current president, because he just...
I'm not proud of him. I can't be proud of a country that elected Trump. I mean, I think.
How about a country that elected, I don't know, pick somebody, FDR, John F. Kennedy, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. Those are all Democrats. I was never not proud of our country because of who we elected. I may have been disappointed. I may have been upset. I may have been fearful of some of these people, but I was never not proud.
it's awful if someone says they aren't proud to be an American regardless of who's in our office. So, of course, I'm more proud than honestly ever.
I think one of the most patriotic things a person can do is realize that there's a lot of problems in the country, be willing to help solve those problems, and still love their country at the end of the day.
I like that guy. Yeah, you know, we got a lot of problems. We've got issues. But that doesn't mean you can't be proud of your country, because we have the greatest system on earth for resolving those problems, for fixing those problems.
We're the greatest country in the world.
I don't think we're the greatest country in the world.
No.
No.
Who? Name me one. Who is it? If we're not the greatest country on earth, tell me which one you think it is. This is where I think they missed the boat. I'd really like to know who they think the greatest country on earth is.
And do you think America is the greatest country in the world?
No. It's not the greatest country in the world.
What would you say is?
Well, that's kind of a difficult question because I don't feel like I can make an informed decision. But if I had to say, I would probably say Sweden.
Canada.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. That's really a difficult question. And if I have to think about it for a while, I'm not really sure what I would say. I have to think about that for a while. You know, that's a difficult question. If I had to pick anybody, I'd pick Sweden. Now, why do you think she picked Sweden? Why do you think she picked Sweden? Because in her estimation, in her little feeble mind, she thinks that Sweden represents the greatest that a democratic socialist country can be. Oh, she's so wrong.
Doing it kind of well now, so I think is a front runner for greatest country.
Sweden, Norway, some of the more developed countries that have better health care.
I was sitting.
Oh, those socialist countries. Those countries where you spend upwards of 80% of the income that you earn goes to taxes so that everybody can get free stuff. Now, if they understood that, now they're graduating with, $1 bazillion worth of student loans. Do you think that if they knew that they're going to have that debt, that there's no way that you're going to get that debt forgiven, that you're going to have to pay that debt down for the rest of your life? And then on top of that, after you pay your student loan nut, whatever that is, every month, then you're going to have 75 to 85% of your income soaked up by taxes at the federal, state, and provincial level, depending on Sweden, Norway, wherever it happens to be, that they're now going to lose, and they're going to be able to keep 15%, maybe 20% of their income. Do you think they'd still feel the same way? Ignorance. Utter ignorance.
Nordic states, yeah. Iceland, people seem pretty happy there.
What? Iceland. People seem pretty, you ever been to Iceland? No, but you know what? They seem pretty happy there. Well, what's the basis upon which you think that Iceland, everybody's, I read a story I was reading the Village Voice one day, and it was really good. It's a really good story, and the story was talking about how people were really happy in Iceland, and I read the story, and I thought, wow, that's really good. That's really cool. Well, why don't you move there?
I don't know, but it's a country with a lot less violence, a lot less distribution of guns, more.
A lot less violence. I like that phraseology too. A lot less distribution of guns. Does he mean gun ownership? I mean, these people are so inarticulate. Ugh.
Stable government with less of a wage gap.
A stable government with less of a wage gap. Can we just take every little talking point, every little phrase that you've heard one of your numbnut snowflake college professors, socialist communist professors, tell you in class, and you just regurgitate that, and so somehow that is some sort of intelligible answer? God save this country.
Changed in this country, so it's not.
In what way?
Like, just even with, like, the American dream is like, I learned that it was like, to have the freedom to do and say most of the things that you want.
I love that one. The American dream was to be able to say and do and dream and think and say most of the things that you really want to say. I bet you $1 to a donut that this girl, and by the way, you can't see her, but she has a little hairdo. She has a little afro hairdo. Yes, I'm going to make fun of it. I'm going to make fun of it because the way she has her afro set up, I swear, as the camera's facing her head on, she looks like Mickey Mouse.
Without too many repercussions, but now, like, with, like, especially for people of color, like, the police brutality and all stuff like that that's really going on now.
Oh. POC, people of color, police brutality, and all of that stuff that's going on. Do you think she could cite any statistics at all about how many cop shootings are unjustified, are unlawful cop shootings? Do you think she has a clue? Or do you think she's just been brainwashed into thinking that cops are just out willy-nilly killing people, and that's why America's not the greatest country on earth? Yeah, I think it's the latter, too.
It's just not what it's been perceived to be. So it's a very frustrating topic.
Like, what are we the greatest in? Like,
personal freedom.
Are we, though?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe personal freedom for you.
In what way do you not feel free?
I think as, like, a young woman and a queer person, it's like everything is around me is like okay, like, if I were to be living in Alabama, I wouldn't be free.
I think we have, a country rife with opportunity, a country rife with abilities to, become successful. I don't know, in light of what's going on around the world, it's pretty damn good to be an American. I think it's the best country in the world. That's just me.
Can we get a golf clap for that last guy? Yeah. I'm happy to be an American. And then yesterday, on the 4th of July, Kamala Harris issues she didn't issue a press release. She issues an actual statement. She says that we have a predator in the White House.
No predators. And we have a predator living in the White House.
Calling the president a predator, this is somebody who is obviously, as a former prosecutor and attorney general in California and San Francisco, prosecuted predators. Too strong, do you think?
Not at all. I mean, remember that in 2016, there was the Access Hollywood tape, and there were all the allegations against the president.
There were all of the allegations. So now allegations are the equivalent of a conviction. And a former attorney general of the state of California and a former state prosecutor, a former district attorney, is now out actually accusing the president of the United States of America of being a predator. But for the fact that he's the president of the United States of America, under the New York Times case, he really can't sue for libel and slander. He can't sue for defamation because he's a public figure. But if someone were to accuse you of being a predator, and to do that in a public forum, it would be almost like somebody saying, I'm not going to go down that path. But it would almost be like somebody saying that you are a predator, and they accuse you of being a predator, meaning that you are either, sexually molesting children, or you are somehow committing sexual assault and battery, or you're committing rape, or you're just a sexual deviant, that all you're doing is continually committing sexual crimes. They go back. There were all of these allegations. So now allegations are good. Just make the allegation. That's the world we now live in. You just make the allegation, and that's good enough.
From various women about various incidents, and we have just a new one from E. Jean Carroll. Is that I say last time right?
We had this new one from E. Jean Carroll. In fact, she was so unbelievable. I don't even remember what her name is. But you had somebody. That was Jake Tapper that started the conversation. So, Jake, you had somebody on your program that, no, it was Anderson Cooper, CNN, same station. But you had this person on making these wild-ass allegations with no backing whatsoever. But that's good enough to accuse the president of being a predator.
So it's not, there is
an alleged rape.
Alleged rape. Yeah. So there have been allegations over time. They have not gone away. And again, that more seem to come out. And I think we've established that this president is not someone who is particularly pro-woman. That is certainly our feeling from the Democratic side. And I think she probably felt like you got to get in there and be strong about it, because that is what people are feeling. And whereas before they might have been willing to, kind of put that aside and go hold their nose and vote for Trump, or they didn't like Hillary and they voted for Trump. Now we know more, not just about him and women, but we know more about his policies.
Alice?
Clearly, she is trying to make headlines, and she absolutely, positively will by this. I think the wording is a little bit much. I find a lot of the behavior that he did years ago extremely disturbing. I found the Access Hollywood tape very disgusting. I had a real problem with that. A lot of social evangelicals had a real problem with that. But at the same time, we knew that this was part of his past. This was something that he did many years ago. And as many have said, we'll give him a mulligan on that as long as it does not continue to happen. And to our knowledge, it has not continued to happen. And the most important point is for social evangelicals who have a real problem with that kind of behavior, he has followed through on the policies that we support him on, which is Supreme Court, life, and religious liberties. His personal behavior, yes, it has been disturbing, but his policies are the reason a lot of people stand behind him.
And can we just pause for a moment? Let's think about the term sexual predator. Generally, in fact, I can't cite the statute, but a person in a position of trust and authority, a school counselor, a school teacher, a principal, an adult, anyone who has control, position, authority, influence, whatever, in an employee-employer relationship, whatever it might be, those people can be held to a higher standard, such as, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He was involved in, it involved a cigar, delivery of pizzas, and Oval Office, and a blue-stained dress. What was that guy's name? Oh, yeah, Bill Clinton, a actual sexual predator. Not one that was just accused, but one that was actually engaged in sexual predatory practices. But that's so ancient history. That's just so long ago that we don't care about that anymore. No. Kamala Harris, I got to say, if you by some sleight of hand end up with the Democrat nomination, and if you think you're going to be able to say that to Donald Trump on a debate stage, and he's going to shrivel up, wither away, hide behind the podium, oh, baby. Get me the popcorn. I can't wait to watch. I also watched with interest over the holiday the Border Patrol, and I forget which sector this was in, but I think, for whatever reason, I think it was in the El Paso sector, but don't hold me to this. But the individual in charge, the supervisor of that particular sector, decided to take a camera. He had a team go with him, and they walked through the entire facility, showing everything that was going on. They blacked out faces. They opaqued the faces so that you couldn't, to protect their privacy rights, right? Got to do that. But he walked through and he showed the supply rooms with the toothbrushes, with the diapers, with the T-shirts, with the clothing. He showed the carts that go around from cell to cell with all of the goodies. Just take whatever you want. You need. They've got these little toothbrushes that have the toothpaste built in. Take as many of those as you want. Peanut butter crackers. You've got, all sorts of snacks, anything that you want. It's almost like a prison commissary. You know how in the prison commissary, the trays will go around? Well, maybe you don't because you've never been in jail. Well, neither have I, but I watched TV one time, and I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. They have these carts. And so they go from cell to cell to cell. And then the people who have commissary privileges, and they happen to have money for the commissary, then they get to pick and choose what they want. Well, here's the difference between that prison commissary cart and the commissary cart at these detention facilities. You don't have to earn your commissary privileges. You get anything and everything you want. He showed the single unit toilets that have the toilet on the bottom and then the stainless steel that comes up to the top, and you have potable water. You have a sink on top where you can either drink the water, you can wash your face and hands, you can brush your teeth. Oh, just the exact opposite of everything that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said. So I was watching that with interest over the weekend when I found an article in the Washington Post. Jay Johnson, who was Barack Obama's Secretary of Homeland Security, called presidential candidate Julian Castro's proposal to decriminalize illegal border crossings essentially advocacy for open borders. He told the Washington Post this, quote, "That is tantamount to declaring publicly that we have open borders. That is unworkable, unwise, and does not have the support of a majority of American people or the Congress, and if we had such a policy, instead of 100,000 apprehensions a month, it would be multiples of that." Jay Johnson, I don't know what it is about. I do know what it is. When you're within the administration, you're subjected to SAPs, Statements of Administration Position. And so you have to stick to the talking points. But Secretary Johnson, isn't it liberating when you're no longer a part of an administration and you can just tell the American people the truth? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had the Secretary of Homeland Security or the acting secretary, or we had the Commissioner of Customs and Border Patrol, or we had the Commissioner of ICE, or we had anybody just telling us the truth? Instead of listening to all these lies that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and Julian Castro and all the others tell us, wouldn't that be wonderful? I think they're recognizing that what's happening at the southern border is A, a humanitarian crisis. 2, that crisis is being fueled by our broken down immigration and asylum system. And 3, absent any sort of barrier, absent any sort of wall, technology, anything to keep people from crossing, and absent any sort of policy within Mexico to keep them from crossing the southern Mexico border into Mexico, we're going to be overrun. Just literally overrun. And when the former Secretary of Homeland Security under Barack Obama comes out and says that is unworkable, it is unwise, and it does not have the support of a majority of the American people or the Congress, and if we had such a policy of open borders, instead of 100,000 apprehensions a month, it would be multiples of that. Here's what we need to watch for. We need to watch for when not the Democrat debates, but when we finally get a Democrat nominee, and assuming that Donald Trump is the Republican nominee, that will be the centerpiece issue that they're going to have to deal with. Trump needs to do more than what he's doing now. And he can do more than what he's doing now, not by executive order, but he can use that bully pulpit to go harangue members of Congress until they do something. He can harangue Nancy Pelosi. He can harangue Steny Hoyer. He can harangue Kevin McCarthy on the Republican side. He can harangue Mitch McConnell. He ran on this issue, and this is the opportunity for him to take it all the way to home plate between now and November. Get busy, Mr. President. Get busy. By now you've probably heard the controversy. If you haven't heard the controversy between Colin Kaepernick and Nike over the Betsy Ross flag, I wanted to point out just how utterly bizarro. I mean, it's a bizarro world that we now live in. So the Betsy Ross flag is the 13 stars representing the 13 colonies, and they're in a circle. And some call it, like the original American flag. That flag I'm trying to think. I saw a photograph of Barack Obama's inaugural of his. I don't know whether it was his first. It doesn't make any difference. It was one of Barack Obama's inaugural ceremonies. And as he is standing delivering his speech, there is a photograph taken from, I don't know, maybe the Washington Monument, but somewhere, maybe from a crane. But there is a great view down the mall toward the Capitol, and you can see the president behind the podium with the teleprompters. And then there is the great western portico of the United States Capitol. And there are 4 flags hanging. And on the left side and on the right side are the Betsy Ross flags draped, hanging straight down, with then 2 what appear to be current, I guess with Barack Obama. I'm not really sure whether it's 50 stars or 57 stars, but whichever it is, 2 current American flags flanked by these 2 original Betsy Ross American flags. So MSNBC is having a segment, is doing a segment on the Nike Colin Kaepernick controversy. And they bring in Georgetown professor Michael Eric Dyson. And the setup goes something like this. So, Professor Dyson, thank you for being here today. You just heard that report about the controversy over the Betsy Ross flag. Can you explain to us why that flag is such a symbol of racism and hatred in this country? You know, I would have added, by the way, the same flag that flew during Barack Obama's inauguration, but I digress.
Right. Well, it hails from the revolutionary period, of course, of this nation's founding, which was deeply embroiled in, enslavement, the owners of slaves, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and the like.
I got to stop. This guy's a professor. If he doesn't understand the steps that those founding fathers took to try to keep the Union together, there were three states, 3 colonies, that refused initially to adopt the Declaration of Independence because of Jefferson's paragraph describing slavery, and that when he said all men are created equal, he went on to describe how slaves should be treated equally. But Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina refused to go along. So in order to preserve the Union, in order to preserve the Revolution, in order to actually found this country, the Founding Fathers backed off and said, okay, let's find the Great Compromise. And if you don't know what the Great Compromise is, I'm not going to sit here and explain it to you. I want you to go look it up, because I want you to read it for yourselves. And I want you to understand what the Great Compromise was, and to understand that from the beginning of this nation, the Founding Fathers were fighting at they had 2 conflicting objectives. One was get this nation off the ground, declare our independence, form a government that preserves individual liberty and individual rights, that prevents tyranny, or at least makes it difficult for tyranny to take place. So that was their number 1 objective. The number 2 objective was, let's found this nation on the idea that all men are indeed created equal. And let's do what we can to start trying to abolish slavery now. And part of that effort was the Great Compromise. You may have heard it described as the 3/5 clause, that we will count slaves as 3/5 in terms of counting population. I'm not going to say any more about the Great Compromise, because I truly want you to go understand and learn about it yourself. But back to Michael Eric Dyson. This guy is a blooming idiot. If he's teaching and he cannot distinguish between the Founding Fathers, their ownership of slaves, and their attempt to abolish slavery, shows this. I think it shows that in the current iteration of American society, you are either perfect or you are imperfect. There are no complex human beings that might have conflicting, principles or ideas. You might be doing one thing but actually practicing something else because it's all so complicated. No, in the worldview of people like Michael Eric Dyson, you either have to be perfect. There was only one perfect human being that I know of, or you're flawed. And if you're flawed, you are to be dismissed. You are to be taken to the junkyard and thrown onto the dustbin of history.
But also, it's the recent use of this flag that has been most opprobrious. Right-wing white supremacists have used it as a rallying cry for their own cause. And none of these flags are kind of set in stone, right? It's depending upon the culture in which you live, the moral ecology of the time. So right now, this flag has been used by people who want to pummel African Americans, Latinx, Jews, and other people.
Here's what I find funny about that. You know what he's just done? By saying that this flag is currently being used by white supremacists, which there may be evidence of that and there may not. I haven't seen it. I don't know. But what I do know is that Nike decided that they were going to put a special edition tennis shoe out, running shoe, walking shoe, I don't know what it was, but a tennis shoe. Let's just use the generic phrase tennis shoe. They were going to put a tennis shoe out that on the back heel had the Betsy Ross flag. Is Michael Eric Dyson saying that Nike is a white supremacist organization? Is he saying that somehow that Nike is an organization, a publicly traded corporation that we need to somehow shut down because they are engaged in support of white supremacy? These people are freaking idiots.
Nazis who want to claim that they have their true copyright on American identity. So why not choose a flag that is representative of everybody? The diversity of identities, ideologies, and people of color and mainstream people who have been...
Oh, I know. The rainbow flag. I think we should start a movement. Are you with me? I think we should start a movement to get rid of the current iteration of the United States flag. You know, stars and stripes. We need to get rid of that. We need to adopt the rainbow flag. Yes, the rainbow flag, because it's all inclusive.
In this country, that's the kind of blowback against the use of this particular flag.
What do you make of those who say, listen, why let those sort of right-wing white supremacist groups win? Why not reclaim the flag, if you will?
That would be beautiful. I don't hear anything coming from the right about that. I don't hear them going, hey, this is not.
And you think the onus is on the right to do that?
Well, yeah, because the left is responding. They're saying this flag is problematic. They're giving their interpretation. It's similar to what the Confederacy has done. They lost the war, but they won the battle of interpretation. This is waging a war of interpretation on the landscape of American popular culture for the collective mindset of America. And people have their right to weigh in as they choose. But the reality is that this flag has represented something that is offensive and opprobrious, and if people want to reclaim it, then do so. It's like the argument about the statues. The statues are there for education. I don't hear people talking about Robert E. Lee as a moment of educating us about the of white supremacy. So were that to occur, it would be great. It just hasn't happened.
What about the argument that some have made, this is PC culture run amok, if you will? If Nike wants to put this flag on their shoe, why are people so upset about it?
Yeah, because, words matter, symbols matter, too. Why don't we wear a swastika for July 4th? Because, I don't know, it makes a difference. The cross burning.
Oh, so I guess now we have to conclude that the Betsy Ross flag is the equivalent of a swastika? Anytime that you have to invoke Hitler, Nazism, the swastika, or anything that has to do with the Holocaust, you lose. And I think, Michael Eric Dyson, the minute you made that comparison, you lost. Let me tell you, bucko, you just lost. I'm going to assume that yesterday on the 4th of July, a lot of you had some really good grilled hamburgers. Some really good, juicy, fat hamburger meat grilled over the flames of a good charcoal grill. Or maybe you had some really good nitrate-filled hot dogs. When they start to sizzle and ooze and all that grease starts to kind of spill out, it shoots the flames up. That's America right there. That's America. Well, some of us not me, but maybe some of you, weren't quite so lucky. Vegans screech that a normal human diet is morally wrong because it kills animals. Well, if so, then veganism is wrong too, because you cannot grow veggies on a large scale without killing animals. Tasmanian gourmet farmer Matthew Evans said that many people don't understand what is involved in producing crops and that many animals are just part of the collateral damage in modern farming. Wildlife fences are used to protect crops, but it is still necessary to kill many animals to make farming feasible. Evans reports that possums and wallabies — oh no, if Kelly hears I'm talking about wallabies, I'm in deep doo-doo. Evans reports that possums and wallabies are killed in particularly large numbers in Australian pea farming. Rice farms kill ducks by the hundreds of thousands. And adding insult to injury, honeybees are subjected to exploitation for pollination purposes. It's like you're exploiting the bees. We really need you to engage in that activity, so we're going to force you to go do that. And the other thing that I find funny about this whole concept that you can't grow veggies on a large scale without killing animals. Have you heard the story in Denver? We got all these stupid Canadian geese everywhere. And I've always thought the solution to the overpopulation of Canadian geese was a couple of guys with a couple of 10 gauges. Yeah, you can get rid of quite a few Canadian geese in one shot with a good 10 gauge. And because they're just stupid walking around, all you have to do is just go to a crosswalk. Just stand at a crosswalk or just walk along a trail around, like Sloan's Lake in Denver. Pick any urban park in Denver, and you could eliminate, with a 10 gauge, thousands of geese. Well, apparently in Denver, we're going to do that. And I can't believe that the animal rights activists haven't gone bat crap crazy, because we're going to start killing the geese and then sending them off to, I guess, a butcher shop or, some sort of, I think they called it they had some funny word for it. It wasn't processing, but it was another verb like processing. They were going to send the geese to be processed so that they could feed the homeless. Producing 1 kilogram of protein from wheat, according to this story, kills roughly 25 times more creatures than producing a kilogram of beef protein. You see, it's not just PETA that kills animals. Veganism kills animals too.
I am a vegan, and I am so sorry. In my experience, the hardest part about being vegan is all of the apologizing. People ask me if I miss meat or dairy. I mean, I miss being liked. I don't miss cheese, but I do miss getting asked to do things. I miss my friends and I miss my family.
Yeah, veganism not only kills animals, it kills relationships too. Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is Friday. That means it's Hollywood and Toto, and I can see Mr. Toto via Skype. Isn't Skype wonderful?
It's amazing. I've got a very lush studio behind me. It's state of the art. I poured thousands of dollars into what's behind me, so I hope you appreciate it.
Well, and I assume that most of the thousands of dollars went for that beautiful, luxurious green hue that surrounds you like an aura of some sort.
I'm like a Bruce Banner. I'm sort of in between the stages of the Hulk. So yes, it's it's very impressive.
So you sent me a story, which I think just means we're screwed. But Leonardo DiCaprio, billionaire investors, create environmental group to fund campaigns and films. This is a story over on Breitbart. So who's Leonardo DiCaprio? Who's that clown?
Kind of a B-list actor. I think he might have been in a TV show years ago, but now he's not that famous. And, you know, he's the kind of guy you never see kind of attached to a supermodel. You never see him on the gossip pages or wait. Oh, no, Leo DiCaprio. Yeah, no, he's a Oscar winner, superstar, mega rich, eco-hypocrite. That's the guy.
Wait, what was that last? eco-hypocrite?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I love that phrase.
Oh, you haven't heard that? Oh, yeah. It's think James Cameron, think Leonardo DiCaprio. They preach eco-environmentalism. They preach green, green, green. But you look at their lifestyles, big homes, big travel, big carbon footprints, and they don't seem to get caught too much by the press. I think actually, I think DiCaprio has been busted a few times by the overseas press, the English press. Oh. But usually stateside, he kind of skates.
Well, that's probably understandable because he flies a G6 that is solar-powered, I understand.
That's exactly.
It doesn't use Jet A or anything.
No.
Okay.
He walks the walk and talks the talk.
So here's what upsets me. I think I know where you want to go. Well, let me just turn it over to you. Where do you want to go with this story? Because I'm pissed already.
I am too, but I'm actually more pissed at conservatives as opposed to liberals because to me, I don't even need to read the rest of the story, to quote a famous broadcaster. I know exactly what's going on because we've seen this time and time again. Now, DiCaprio has actually worked with other filmmakers in the recent past, maybe like last 5 or 10 years, to make documentaries about climate change. And again, he's an artist. He's rich. It's his right. It's prerogative. He can do whatever he wants with his money. But he really is dedicated to getting that message out. And it means it's documentary format, it's different films, it's using his Oscar-winning moment to spread the word about global warming. It's what he does. And it's also what Obama is doing. President Obama has teamed up with Netflix to create Higher Ground. It's a new line of programs. It could be documentaries. It could be a TV series. It could be feature films that share his worldview. Now, he's not going to tell you that, but it's exactly what he's doing it. The Obamas signed a deal with Spotify to do podcasting, again, to get their messages out to the masses. And I believe that Bill and Hillary Clinton have done something similar. I think it might be on the podcasting front.
And their production studio is called Lower Ground.
It's called Drag a Dollar Bill Through a Trailer Park.
That's right. That was too
kind of a long title.
That was too easy. I'm sorry. That was too easy. So your point is they're putting their money where their mouths are, and they're actually doing what they're using their celebrity, they're using their connections, they're using everything that they have as these Hollywood A-listers. And I assume, I honestly, I haven't read the story. Does it say who the billionaire investors are?
I didn't even read the story because it doesn't matter. I don't care the person's name.
Right. But my point is, they're going to these billionaire investors. Tom Steyer comes to mind immediately.
Yes.
So they're going to the Tom Steyers of the world, although it may not actually be him. They're going to the Tom Steyers of the world, and they're saying, look, we need you to put up a couple of $1 billion because we're going to saturate the culture.
It's exactly right. And it's exactly, correct me if I'm wrong, what's missing from the right of center aisle of the mega rich conservative landscape. Why aren't we seeing people on the right doing this same thing? And what's amazing about this is when the Obamas do it, the media doesn't couch it like we're couching it. Like, Obama is just they're going Hollywood. They want to make movies. No, there's a reason why they're doing it, and they're smart. They're trying to impact the culture with movies and TV shows and podcasts and things like that. And it is a constant refrain for us on the right that there aren't people doing something similar. Now, we've seen independent movies, and God bless them. I cheer on their efforts, but nothing of this scale, nothing of a major movie star doing anything to my knowledge, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't think of anyone doing something like this, of this magnitude, of kind of putting it into, hey, we want to put freedom-focused movies. We want to maybe make movies about, free speech and limited government and the power of capitalism and the horrors of communism. There's no other message to combat what's going to be happening from Team DiCaprio in the years to come.
And here's the irony. So this story is on Breitbart, founded by Andrew Breitbart, and Andrew preached in such an incredibly effective way that the culture was the real battlefield and that the politics trailed the culture. That was Andrew's mantra. So here's Breitbart.com doing this story, and here you and I are bemoaning the fact that on the conservative side, on the right side of the political spectrum, there's nobody doing this.
It's really stunning.
Why?
You know, I have a series of articles on my website. It's called The Culture Wars, and it's from a contributor to my site. And he mentions a lot of interesting things. You should go on the site and check it out. But one of the things he talks about is
what is that site?
It's HollywoodinToto.com, just for in case you're wondering. I'm a good writer and I'm bad at self-promotion. But he was talking about how a lot of the big conservative news sites, they don't really work to change the culture. They're often outraged by the culture. They often talk about what's happening in the world. But what they don't do is they don't reach down and pluck the young, up-and-coming, right-of-center artists and give them a platform. So I think what you see from liberal Hollywood, and it's to their credit, is that across the board, they're nurturing these voices. They're giving them sustenance. They're giving them media attention. And it's almost like, the minor leagues in baseball. Maybe they're not ready for the big time yet. They're not ready for the big show, but they're working on it. And I think it's like a pipeline that exists in different channels. And I just don't think there's anything remotely similar to that on the right.
All right. Now, you and I are friends, so I want you to know this is not a trick question, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, although I have a gut feeling it's going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
So we got Leonardo DiCaprio. Who on our side, right of center, is an A-lister that has that kind of, I don't want to use the word credibility, but that kind of panache, that kind of influence? Who do we have on our side?
It's a great question, and I actually thought of it before you asked me it, and I scrambled for an answer. The one name that came up was Jon Voight, but he's close to 80 now, and listen, he's a good actor. He seems like he's in good health, but he's not an A-list superstar like he was back in the day. I don't know if that part of the equation that people on the right can kind of come up with it, because a lot of the people who are openly conservatives are like Dean Cain and Christy Swanson, and they're not. This is no reflection on their abilities.
No.
They're not at that A-list level where everyone knows them and they can change the culture. So I think from that perspective, we are at a distinct disadvantage. But I've got to think there are some very rich people on the right with very deep pockets who maybe do a lot of wonderful things and they donate to very worthwhile causes. But I think this is a worthwhile cause, too.
I do, too. And I thought about the question before I asked it. I thought of Jon Voight. I thought, to a certain degree, Clint Eastwood. Although, but again, Clint's not an activist.
No.
Then you have like Nick Searcy, who is fantastic on Twitter, but he's not an A-list actor. And Nick, if you're listening to the podcast, don't take that the wrong way. I love you. I love you. One retweet from you, as you know, one retweet from Nick Searcy blows up your Twitter feed, right?
Yes.
So we love Nick Searcy, but there's not a guy flying around in a G5 or a G6 that can command the kind of rope line attention that a DiCaprio does that I can name on our side of the political spectrum.
There's two other reasons why that's the case. One is I think people on the right are often more concerned with making their movies and TV shows and their music. They don't see themselves as culture warriors like the DiCaprios, like the Mark Ruffalos do. I think it's a different mindset there. I think to the left, everything is political, so they don't mind making their careers political, where people on the right can often make a sort of a dividing line between, hey, I'm a conservative, but I'm an actor first and I want to make movies. So I think that's a big part of it, is that they're just not there. And also I think there are people who may be of that caliber that just are afraid of kind of going open about it. I mean, this is maybe unfair to say, but I've had the sense for a while, and I've heard whispers that Adam Sandler is right of center. And he is not a super duper star anymore, but he is big and he could potentially affect change. But I almost guarantee if you pulled him aside and we had this discussion, he would say, I just want to make movies. I want to make people laugh. Like, it wouldn't be in his interest on any level. And I totally respect that, because he's a comic actor. He's not there to change the culture. Yeah. So I think there's many reasons why it's working against us. But I also think if you had a new film studio or a new company that threw a lot of money at the wall and said, okay, I want a bunch of actors to star in our movies, not only would some conservative leaning actors come out of the woodwork, I bet you some liberals would get some work out of it too.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I don't know. I guess my next question is, what's the solution? What do we do?
I don't know. I was in the dentist's office recently. My son was getting his teeth cleaned, and I was looking through, I think it was People magazine. And I got depressed because there were multiple stories in there about, I guess you could say that they embraced a progressive theme. Like there was a heroic tale of these young people that were suing the government regarding climate change. Now, you could say it's a story. I don't disagree. But there's a reason why that story is in People magazine, and you would not see a story about young people gathering together to fight abortion. Those are two different arguments, two different groups, but one would be welcomed within the People magazine's editorial decisions, and one would not be. And I'm thinking the left has so many resources, so many ways to spread the message, so many avenues at their disposal that we don't even come close to having. And it's amazing that the nation is as divided as it is, because I think we should be getting creamed.
See, I think we are getting creamed.
Quite possibly.
Yeah,
maybe I look at sort of the election numbers and I feel like we have a fighting chance, but it's just staggering what we're up against.
Anything else on that? Now that you got me all depressed.
I don't think so. I just wanted to share that. I wanted to share that message, and I don't know what the answer is. And listen, if you're a multi-billionaire and you happen to be conservative, it's your money. You can do what you want. But I really think there's got to be some sort of movement toward that, or a realization that the culture war is in play, and that we desperately need reinforcements, and we don't have them.
We don't. Okay, let's move. I'm going to save the best for last.
Okay, so I think I know what it is.
We're going to skip that one.
Okay.
We're next going to go to your website, HollywoodandToto.com. You have a story up, Why Hollywood Can't Quit the Mueller Report. What's this about?
I'm fascinated by this. So as everyone knows, the left thought the Mueller report was going to bring Trump down. Collusion, obstruction, it's impeachment palooza. And then the Mueller report hit, no collusion, no obstruction. It certainly showed Trump, being sort of eccentric, being sort of a little bit out of control in a way that we don't often see politicians. But the bottom line is that they spent millions was it 18 months? I thought it was longer, and found nothing. He didn't do what they said he had done. And even stepping back from it, it seemed like kind of almost like a farcical enterprise that they even thought of it in the first place.
2.5 years and $25+ million.
Yeah. Nothing. Really nothing.
Nothing.
So obviously Hollywood was aghast, and they were rooting and praying and hoping that it would find something, impeachable. And it was so weird because at first I think everyone was shocked. People on the left, people on the right. It was a nothing burger. And then I started noticing the messaging coming back to impeachment from people like Rob Reiner, the director who's really just Trump deranged at this point. And then I saw a video with people like Stephen King and Lawrence Fishburne, Robert De Niro saying, no, wait, the impeachment realization is in that document, the Mueller report. It's just that people haven't read it yet. And so they read little snippets, and they kind of were talking about the outrage.
I think we made fun of, it wasn't that group, it was another group that did that. One of those PSAs.
Yes. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, we've all read this. You can go to Amazon right now and order the Mueller report and read it cover to cover. And more importantly, if there was a smoking gun in that report, it would be the front page story or the top of the fold on every website in the country. And it wasn't.
And
it didn't happen.
And it would still be at the top of the fold.
It'd still be. And I think Trump would be talking to Vice President Mike Pence saying, hey, let's talk about this transition because this is bad. It didn't happen. But now I think Hollywood has talked itself collectively into thinking it is happening. Now, in addition to that video, there was the one that you just mentioned where you had different actors reading little snippets of the Mueller report saying, oh, this is unbelievable. This can't be true. And again, taking things out of context and kind of making it more fantastical, and also using their creativity to create a narrative that really didn't exist in the facts and figures realm. But more importantly, there was an event recently that was live streamed. It was reading, and it has a very long title. I forget the title, but it was a bunch of pretty big actors, Sigourney Weaver, John Lithgow, Kevin Kline, who I love. I think Martin Sheen was there, who read passages of the Mueller report, kind of like a stage production, much like the FBI lovebirds, which we discussed a few weeks ago with the Strzok and Page tweets or texts. So I think that Hollywood has kind of taken a step back, reassessed the Mueller report, and thought, we can change the narrative on this. We can use our skills and the way we communicate, and we can make our own reality where this actually was the cry for impeachment. And I think that's what's happening right now.
And do you think is their target audience members of the House or the public at large?
I'm sure it's both. I think they'd love to sway the members of the House. There doesn't seem to be a real hunger for impeachment. You hear the AOCs of the world clamoring for it, but I don't think there's any movement literally on this front. Is there?
No. And in fact, I have a lot of listeners that love anytime I can find Maxine Waters saying something stupid, I love to play it. I don't even have to say anything. I just plug it in and play it. Just let it rip. And they've actually been bitching at me. We miss Maxine. Well, I have been studiously looking for Maxine to say something stupid. And I think Nancy Pelosi has gone to her and said, knock it off about impeachment. Shut up. You can't find anything about Maxine anymore.
That's a shame. It's almost criminal.
It is criminal. Don't they know we have shows to do?
We've got to do like a GoFundMe page to unleash Maxine Waters.
That's right. Let Maxine go. Let Maxine be. What was that? Let Reagan be Reagan. Let Maxine be Maxine. Come on. Come on. All right. Well. So, I mean,
that was my take on it. What do you think? I mean, you know what happened. You know the report. You know the reaction. You know the realities of D.C. Why do you think that Hollywood? I know, I'm sort of maybe two in the bubble of studying Hollywood. You're not like that. You have a more expansive scope. What are they doing? What's your take on this?
Well, I think Hollywood doesn't understand. I think their target audience really is the Democrat members of the House and Senate. And they conflate those two. They don't understand that the House has a particular role, the Senate has a different role. They don't understand that at all. I mean, if you can convince me that Bette Midler understands the role of impeachment under the United States Constitution, I'll buy you dinner for the next 25 Friday nights, okay?
But she's too busy interpreting a certain hot or cold day as proof of climate change. So she's got her hands full.
Right. She is busy. She is busy. So I think that Hollywood is ignorant of the role of Congress in impeachment. They see the Mueller report as, guys, this may not have been everything that we want, but it's enough that we can use our influence, because here's what they do know. Hollywood knows, this is probably a bad example. Jon Stewart at the hearing for the extension of the 9/11 Responders Fund, he knows that his presence alone draws a crowd. These Hollywood actors know, hey, the Mueller report may not have been the thing that we thought it was, but if we start talking about it, all of these people are going to clamor because they all want to rub elbows with us. They know that, they understand that, and they're going to use that. So I think their target audience are the members of Congress. And I think that's what they're trying to do, is convince them to do something. What they don't understand is the electoral political side of it, and that is, if the House were to pass articles of impeachment, I don't care whether it's straight party line vote, one Republican, no Republicans, I don't care. They just pass articles of impeachment. I think that alone dooms them in the 2020 election.
And they don't care about that. They just want that impeachment.
Because all they know is impeachment equals Trump gone. That's the formula.
Yeah. And even though Bill Clinton was impeached and nothing really happened, they don't even do that math.
Bill who?
I know.
Didn't you study? Wasn't that in like ancient world history or something?
I studied it in. I think it was pre-World War II. I think I forget the exact date.
Yeah, I think it was pre-Civil War, but it was like a long time ago. So yeah. But anyway, that's my take on it, and I think that's why they're pushing it. Plus, I think let me add another thing. Now I'm going to be a total a-hole. I think they're
now.
I know. Now I think they're also pushing it because this gives them something to do. this puts them back out there. Look at us. Let us beat our chests and see what we're doing.
Yeah. Listen, when I look through Us Magazine, and forgive me for doing that, but my wife has a subscription, Us Weekly. There are certain celebrities who are in there almost every week in allegedly, oops, I just got caught on camera poses. Now, that their agents and their managers and their PR people are saying, hey, so-and-so is going to be at the beach next week doing yoga. Come take pictures.
Yes, of course.
So Stephen King and Robert De Niro are back in the news.
Yeah, or when you walk out of the restaurant, be sure and pause for count to 5 to give the paparazzi time to get all the cameras focused and get your photo taken.
Oh, it's hard to be so cynical, but the world just makes it happen.
It does make it happen. Okay, now the last story we want to get to.
Yeah.
Breaks my heart.
Me too.
I don't know what to think of this.
And I think we saw it coming, but I don't think we saw who would potentially instigate it.
Yeah. So here, over at Newsbusters, the headline is, the lone right-leaning host, Meghan McCain, rumored to be leaving The View. Christian, I can't go on.
I'm stunned, because who could possibly replace her that would be her equal? Now, let me stop there. There are women who could kill that role, but they will not be hired by The View staff. So I think that's the magic of this.
Exactly, because the producers have learned from Meghan McCain, hey, we went a notch too high on the IQ level. We need to draw that back a little bit. Instead of 150 IQ, we need to drop it back to, I don't know, maybe room temperature.
Can you imagine Dana Lash on there?
Oh, my
or
God.
Ann Coulter?
Oh, Lord.
Or even Laura Ingraham.
Yeah, any of them.
It would be great TV.
Oh, Lord.
But that's, I think, what's kept her on the show. You and I would joke, and I think I may have led the charge that they're going to fire her. They're going to fire her because she's too good. She's too smart. She's too able to dismantle all the other hosts' arguments. And I think that's still technically true. But the wild card is it's been good for ratings and good for press.
Yes.
And I think her presence there, I think Team View behind the scenes is gritting their teeth and saying, look at the ratings. We can't get rid of her. She's too good. But that's not what's happening.
But I don't find it coincidental that we have this story. When was it, last week or week before, where Joy actually called Meghan a bitch? Was that?
No, it was the reverse.
It was a reverse. You're right. It was right. It was Meghan calling Joy a bitch. To me, that was like, when you do that, as professional as Meghan is, when you do that on national television, you've reached your limit.
I agree. I thought it was terrible of her. Not that it's wrong. It's just wrong. You just don't do that. You always take the high road. You argue with facts. You argue with figures. You present yourself well. And falling into the, oh, you're a B word is just, it's almost like, it's kind of waving the white flag.
It's waving the white flag. But I can tell you there were times in my political career where I wanted to literally call members of Congress a-holes to their face on national television during congressional hearings. But for the fact that my lawyer, my wife, and my minister all sat me down, I mean, it was like an intervention. Now, look, you have this hearing today, and they're going to be coming after you, and we expect you to take the high road. But I get it. I get it that at some point you just say, you know what, I've had enough. And so I think when I see this story now, and I think back to that episode and that audio we played, I think Meghan is saying to herself, you know what, I'm making a boatload of money. I can make money elsewhere too. I'm out of here.
Now, I agree. And I think that she will be hired elsewhere if she does leave. But I also think that when she leaves that venue, she becomes yet another smart right of center host or talking head or personality.
I know exactly where you're going, and I agree 1,000%.
And she's not as unique. She's not the unicorn anymore. She's the unicorn on that show,
Yes.
which has elevated her to a significant level. And this is not an insult to her abilities. I'm just looking at the marketplace. She has found a niche there that is very potent, and I think it's really elevated her profile. But again, if she gets out in the open marketplace, she's just going to be another talking head speaking to right-of-center audiences, and the market is filled with those people.
So let me wrap this up, because I can wrap
Yes.
this up very easily for us, because I don't want you to spend the rest of the weekend all dithering about this. If Megyn were to leave The View, that doesn't stop the dumbassery from the rest of the group.
No, absolutely not.
We'll still have clips out the wazoo, whether Megan's there or not.
It's true. That is a comfort, so I do appreciate that. It's going to help me get through the whole weekend now.
Yeah, see? You can tear up all those letters you were sending to Megan.
But there goes our trip to the View studio, though. That I think that will take a hit.
Well, yeah, it will take a hit, but we'll still keep talking about doing it.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, my.
Hey, hope you have a good rest of your weekend. And we should let people know we will not be talking next week, because you're running off to Pennsylvania or something.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yeah, I'm going to take a week off reluctantly, but I'll be back in 2 weeks, and I'll be armed with many of you, Clip, I promise.
All right. Well, have fun and have a safe trip.
Thanks.
All right, we'll talk to you later.